Welcome to the Be the Solution podcast with our guest today, Emily Marchese. Emily is a partner and managing broker at Keller Williams Realty, Jersey Shore. She brings a wealth of experience and expertise to the table with an exceptional track record, including prestigious accolades such as KW's Empire Builder, America's Top 100 Agents, Real Trends 1000, New Jersey Circle of Excellence Platinum Award, and KW Cultural Icon. With over 2,000 homes sold throughout her career, Emily specializes in deploying advanced negotiating tactics to secure the highest price for her clients' properties. From luxurious waterfront estates to charming bungalows, no property is too big or small for Emily and her team to handle. She represents a diverse range of real estate, ensuring that every client receives personalized attention and tailored solutions. Welcome, Emily.
I wanted to be in a business that I did not have a ceiling. Take a pen and a piece of paper, draw a line, draw another line next to it. At 365 days, if you drew 365 lines, you started here with one line, but look how far you've come.
Welcome, Emily Marchese from the Marchese Team at Keller Williams Realty. Welcome, Emily.
Thanks, Maria.
Glad to have you today on Be the Solution podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'm honored to be here.
Awesome. Well, we're happy to have you. So let's dive right in, Emily.
Okay.
So tell us, how the heck did you get into real estate?
Oh, God. Well, I always wanted to make a lot of money. I had graduated with a degree in psychology from Temple, and there's really no money unless you're a doctor. Not wanting to go back to school again to further my education, somebody had recruited me into the life insurance business. So I got into life insurance, and that kind of catapulted the sales career for me. And, a couple years in life insurance, I did very well, but it's not really a fun product to sell. It's actually really morbid to talk about death all day long, but I was good at it. I made great money, and I thought there's got to be something else I can sell and still make money. My father was a fireman in Philly, so he had retired, and as a second career, he became a realtor. And he had said to me, why don't you try real estate? And I thought, all right, well, show me the ropes. And for a couple of months, I went to his office every day down in Wildwood from Philly. And he kind of showed me the ropes. And I said, I can do this. I got my license, and that was 20 years ago.
So just a minute in real estate then.
Just a minute. Feels like a minute. You know what that feels like.
Yeah, 20 years goes flying right by.
It's a death sentence.
So you've done a lot in your career. What would you say are some things that you had to get through so that you could be where you are today? Like what challenges you had to get through?
The biggest thing was probably just figuring it out in the beginning. When I started in 2003, the market was just like really ramping up. Everybody was buying and selling. And so things kind of just were falling into my lap. And I thought, hey, this is pretty easy. But, when the bubble burst and I just couldn't find my way, things were not falling in my lap anymore. Not to mention I had gotten married a couple years before that and had 2 babies. So I was juggling that work-life balance and trying to figure out how I was going to get business in an area where my network really wasn't. I'm from Philly, but yet I'm living down the shore, selling real estate down the shore. I didn't know any of the locals, nor do locals really buy or sell frequently because, they're like lifers here. So typically their houses are passed down through generations. And it was really difficult to find my way because the internet was really starting to come into play. Meanwhile, I was still sitting on floor time waiting for people to walk in. So that was probably the toughest part, was getting over that hurdle of how the internet was going to play a factor in our industry. And, that business wasn't going to come to me. I had to go out and get it. I wasn't prospecting based at all. And I didn't have the tools that I needed to survive in that market. And so I actually gave up. I sent my license back to the state. And then my husband said, listen, you're spending all this money. You're advertising in these magazines. And, I did what everybody else was doing. They were advertising in all these different magazines. And I thought, oh, well, if I advertise, the business is just going to come to me. But it didn't, because the market wasn't there for it. I had to go out and find some people, and I didn't have that in me to do, or the know-how to do it. So I wound up basically retiring, and staying home with my kids, which I never thought in a million years I'd be a stay-at-home mom. I actually didn't feel very fulfilled in that. I don't take it back because I did get to spend a couple years at home with my kids, but it wasn't the right situation for all things being said. My marriage, my financial picture was in the toilet. It was pretty terrible. And so I gave up and then I came back. And that's when things started. Yeah, that's when I say things really started.
So during that time, it's kind of like a little bit like today. Over the last 5 years, there's been a lot of people raising their hands saying they wanted to buy or sell real estate. And I would say that that was almost like shooting fish in a barrel
Yeah,
over the last, I'd say decade or so, because we've been on pretty much upswing. Then the shore market really hit its stride during
before.
COVID, being a big uptick. So fast forward to today, do you feel like it's kind of like the same a little bit of when just like you're putting yourself out there for advertising and you're not getting opportunity? Today you have to work just as hard to find the opportunities.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you have to reevaluate that, every 30 days. You can't just keep throwing. I had this mentality back then. Like, if I throw enough up against the wall, something's got to stick. And I almost went bankrupt over it. And I think now, like, how many agents out there are in the same position I was then? They had it, there might be a new licensee, or they might have just did very well because of the COVID boom and all these people wanting to relocate and change their lives and buy bigger or buy smaller, and things were falling into their lap. And now all of a sudden things are not falling into their lap. So I think, how many people out there are Emily back in 2007?
What advice would you give to them today, Emma?
I would say definitely find a mentor or a coach or someone that you can ask for help. Not all brokerages have that. I mean, back then I was with a small mom and pop brokerage, and that broker was great, but she was still operating in that floor time type mindset. And she really didn't have a lot of advice for me when it came to prospecting and going out and finding things. I think maybe I wish I didn't come into the real estate when it was such a great market, because I collected all these terrible habits and just bad time management. And so I didn't have the foundation. So I would say, if I had to give any advice, like, go find someone that's successful in this business and ask them to be your mentor, or hire a coach, because there's a lot of good things you can get with coaching. I think I've made the greatest strides with the coaches that I've had. It was well worth the spend. And, ask to how you can build a solid foundation. What are the things that you need to do? I mean, listen, prospecting is where it's at. Yeah.
What does that look like for you and your team?
Yeah. I mean, back then I didn't even have a database. I actually didn't start a database until 2016. So the first 13 years, I guess I was winging it. I don't know what I was doing, but in 2016, I really started. I had a coach. I had hired a coach, and they said, "Well, what's your database look like?" And I'm like, "I don't even really have a CRM that I use." And I was like, "I know people talk about it, but I don't know if I was just dumb, or I didn't realize how it worked and what the resources were." But they said, "Well, first and foremost, you need a database. So you need to go and start putting down all the people on a spreadsheet." And I started there. But, if think about, if I would have just started a database back in 2003, or somebody would have told me, where would I be today? Because from 2016 to now, I feel like this has been the meat and potatoes of my career. But yeah, I'm 20 years in the business. So, working your database, asking the people who like, know, and trust you already, who do they know that wants to buy or sell or invest in real estate? Work in that database and trusting the people around you to send you people that they know that want to do real estate transactions.
So do you work your database and you calendar your day? How do you keep things organized?
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I was always good with. I was always good with my calendar. I think I do time block, and I do it obviously more purposely now, but even back then, I didn't go anywhere without my daily planner. Now, of course, I'm using, an electronic calendar, so I have it at my fingertips. But back then I used to carry it everywhere I went. I even had put it in my handbag. It was like this big, and I'd take it out and write things down in it when things came up. But you know, you have to make those calls. I try to touch base with all my people at least 4 times a year by phone, really phone calls, just to check in and see how they're doing and how's the house that they're living in now. And, do they have needs for something bigger or smaller, or, are they at a next life phase where they need to, leave New Jersey or Pennsylvania and head to Florida, or that's basically the name of the game, is keeping in touch with your people and letting them know that you're there when they need you.
Yet, how many people don't do that?
5% of our industry. Sad.
So right now we're in a crossroads of time where it takes a lot more effort. What would you say the efforts required today?
I mean, I think you have to have 20, like what I preach to my team is having 20 conversations about real estate with past clients or active clients per day. 22-way conversations. So it's not like reaching out and leaving a voicemail. That doesn't count. It's like there's got to be some form of dialogue, even if it's texting. Texting, I think, is okay, because I think that's a lot of people don't want to talk anymore. They just want to text and get to the point. I'm okay with that as long as it's going back and forth. It can't be, just me sending a text to them. I don't count that. So I want to have like a 2-way conversation, and it's important to have 20 a day. And you can probably do that in like 2 to 3 hours, if not less, if you're really purposeful about it.
Yeah, at least 2 to 3 hours every day.
20 a day keeps the doctor away.
Okay.
That's what I say.
2 to 3 hours of call time. Yep. I
Yep.
agree on that. And what do you think that the mindset is required for today?
Realistic. I think you need to have a realistic mindset. I have a lot of people in my world that are overly optimistic, and that's almost as bad as being a pessimist. So I think you got to be right in the middle. You can't, I don't know about you, but like we have a lot of deals that are falling apart. I think our fall through rate is around like 50 to 60%. In New Jersey, we have that 3-day cancellation period. In Pennsylvania, you don't have that. But down here, we're getting a lot of people that they're so happy. They finally win a multiple offer situation. And then next thing 3 days later, they talk to their mom, their dad, their friend, somebody, in the supermarket, and they told them it's a terrible time to buy. And now they're scared and they're backing out.
Buyer's remorse.
Buyer's remorse is real. That's what I tell
It is
people.
real. So
It is real.
it's really about making sure the buyer understands that they did the right thing, that they got a great opportunity, that they outbid of all the other people, and after 3 or 4 offers, they finally got one accepted.
Yep.
So it's really over communicating and trusting that they did the right thing. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and the media doesn't help. Turn on the news and see what they're saying. It's unfortunate. I'm trying to tell our message that we're giving, and we're trying to tell everybody we know, is this holiday season is probably your greatest time to buy. If you're sitting back and you're thinking, I'm going to wait for the rates to go down or wait for the spring market, you're just going to have 10 times more competition. Because I don't know about your particular area, Maria, but down here, we don't have very much to sell. I mean, there's still no inventory. So, and I don't see that getting any better. So you have to think that people who need a home are going to be willing to pay more than someone who maybe this is more of like a luxury move. They just want a bigger house, but they don't need a bigger house, or they just want that shore home, but they don't really need it. The people that need it are going to be the ones that are winning in the spring.
So it's just being a secondary market, it's a little bit different than it being a primary home.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
It's awful. It's really, it's tough because it's very emotional because the people don't need it. It's a luxury. Having a vacation home is definitely a luxury. And our price point, most people who buy at the shore, they're paying like maybe 2 times what they paid for their primary residence. And they're not even living in it 24/7. So it can be very challenging. And then there's always those, underlying factors like flood elevation, possible flooding areas or those kind of things. And it can be a very volatile market. We see rapid appreciation here, where in the primary markets, you don't necessarily see that, but we also see rapid depreciation in some areas. So it's very challenging, but that's why you just need to get with the right agent, somebody who's knowledgeable. But believe it or not, I find so many people don't really look for the most knowledgeable, the most educated agent in the area. They're usually going with somebody that they like, know, and trust, like a family friend or something like that, or somebody that was referred to them. And that agent might be brand new. And it's really tough for a brand new agent to navigate what happens in a market where I'm at, where you have so many things that come into play, but it can be challenging, but it's also fruitful and rewarding and, you know, all the things.
So, what are some things that happen with the secondary home sales that you don't see with the primary?
Well, a good majority are sold off market, off MLS. People don't know that. The majority are sold off MLS, a good majority. People don't even know that their neighbor sold their home. Next thing you know, there's a moving truck at at neighbor's house. Happens all the time. The agents down here have very large databases, and they're able to put together buyers and sellers outside of MLS. And so that's one thing that I think really sets us apart. I mean, we have just one MLS for this particular county here that I live in, Atlantic County, and there's one for Cape May County. So, what those MLSs is just a little small piece of the pie.
Why do you think that is? Because of the databases being so big, they can just go in there and sell it off market?
You know, I think it's a defensive play. The average sales price down here is well over $1 million. So, I think people do it as a defensive, like if you put it on the market and you have, a buyer for it, say, and three other agents have buyers for it, then you're in a multiple offer situation. It's just a lot easier. And, I feel like the wealthier percentage of the population also likes their privacy. And there's something kind of mysterious about that when you sell something off market. People actually like it. I have people call me all the time. They're like, I want to do a private sale. I'm like, okay, well, I can't advertise it by law. I can't advertise it. So you're going to have to deal with somebody who's in my database. Let me see who I have that fits your property description. And if you're willing to make a deal with them, we can do it. But it's not like I can go out and advertise it, by MLS rules. So it can be
Sure.
challenging, but it also can be great.
Yeah, we do see, especially in the investment side, people
Sure.
sometimes don't want to put it out to the open market.
Yep.
They want to do it off market for a variety of reasons. So,
Sure.
and then that's up to the seller. That's
Right.
their choice.
Yep.
We don't decide any of that.
Right. We just have to figure out how to make it work without violating any laws.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that you're powered by place. Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So we're part of Place for the past year. We just had our 1 year anniversary. The founders of Place, Ben Kinney and Chris Suarez, are really great friends of mine. And I've always really I followed both of them for many years. They're one of the top agents nationally at Keller Williams. And, I've always looked at them because I always hang out with people that were doing more business than me, people that were better than me.
Yeah.
Something, it was very rewarding to hang out with people and learn a lot from them in a very short period of time. And, I believed in the platform that they built. They first Ben Kinney built a technology CRM program, which is spectacular. I think it's one of the best in the business. There's definitely a top five, but he's got one of them. And I think, the business has changed a lot. And technology is really a big interrupter in our industry. And so with that, the partnership with them gives you items like human resources. Like if I needed to hire an operations manager, I didn't have to do any of that. Place HR took care of all of that. They interviewed, I think, over 70 candidates for me. I mean, that would have just taken me so much time. Plus, it's not my specialty. That's HR specialty. So they have, an HR department, they have a legal department, which definitely helps with contracts and all of that. But the big thing is the network. It's a great network, national. I think there's almost 300 Place teams across the country right now, and they're typically some of the top performers in their area. So the network is amazing. partnered with Goldman Sachs. They were valued at a $1 billion company, and they're gearing up to go public. So my partnership with them was very strategic and where I thought that the real estate industry is going. And I think I put myself in with the right partnership to weather the storm.
Is that the main thing that they provide is HR services or?
I mean, it's not the main thing. I mean, they have the technology platform. We use their platform for everything, all of their marketing. They had the president of Frito-Lay. I mean, like big name people in their marketing department, which is great. Helps us with that. They have a great coaching and training program. If you want to build a big real estate team and you want to hire a lot of agents, you got to train those agents. Well, we know that that's a big hole in our industry is training agents on that the licensing course only takes you so far. And then after that, it's like, what do I do now? And I dealt with that firsthand. I really struggled. Like I didn't know how to even process a transaction. My broker had handled all that for me. So there's a lot of training, and we have like a new agent launch and an experienced agent launch. And it just gets agents in production within 90 days, which is, my ultimate goal is to for my team to be able to service people in, Philly, surrounding suburbs, Cherry Hill, down through the Jersey Shore, their second home, and then really the end stage of their life, which is probably Florida. Most of our area winds up heading south at some point in their life. And that's my main goal is I want to be able to service the client for life. And I can't really service them for life if I'm not working the areas that they're in where they have real estate needs. So that's the vision. And I feel like Place was the right partner to help me get to accomplish my vision. That's what I'm hoping for, is to be able to train and help new agents or experienced agents grow. And in that growth will help me complete my vision.
That's awesome. What does your vision look like, Emily?
I mean, just servicing the client for life. I want to be able to be there. I want to have boots on the ground in this area. It's like I wouldn't go to maybe California or Arizona or Utah and try to sell real estate. Like none of my clients that need me are really there. I mean, some people are actually going to Arizona now. I'm hearing a lot of people going to Phoenix and Scottsdale, and the cost of living is much less. And when Florida has gotten very expensive, so maybe Arizona might be on my future list. But I want to be able to service the client for life. I want to be their go-to. I want to be, for them, their friends, their family, from and through all the stages. I mean, I don't have any boots on the ground in Philly right now. So it's very challenging to help people, in Philly. I'm not there and I don't have any agents there. So it's, that's how can I really, the best way I could support my client is to just refer them to a great agent in that area. But if I had boots on the ground, I'd be able to service them in person. And that's really my goal. Is right now we're in the lower 8 counties of New Jersey. So the whole southern from mid New Jersey down all the way to Cape May, we're servicing all bottom 8 counties.
That's still a pretty big territory.
Yeah, it is. It is, but it's doable. It's doable and it's manageable, and it's in every county. So, right now we're a team of 17 agents. I would love to, get to 100 agents. That's what I'm going to need to get to Florida. So that's the goal.
Are
I
you
want to
getting
help as
to
many
Florida?
agents as I can. What?
Are you getting to Florida?
I'm going to. I'm going to be my very first hire in Florida.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So if you're entering into the business today, what would you tell them they need to do?
Well, they have to go with the company that's right for them. They have to go with one where they feel supported. The biggest thing I hear when agents are unhappy with their brokerage is that they don't feel supported by either their broker or brokerage. So I think you got to go where you feel as though the training resources are there, that you can, take advantage of what they have to offer. And I think they need to go where they can have a mentor. I think the broker has to be very hands-on. I find a lot of these companies, the broker's not very hands-on. And I think that's the whole point of being the broker of record. Or, if the broker's not able to teach, they need to hire someone to teach, because just getting the license is easy. It's everything else that happens after that. That's the struggle. I would love to real estate like university. I don't know why colleges don't offer degrees in real estate. It makes no sense to me. They offer degrees in finance, but yet real estate is like nothing outside of taking the licensing course. You can't learn anything about real estate in college. So, majority of the population, it makes their money in real estate. Like the greater wealth side of it. It's all made through real estate or some kind of, stock bonds, some type of investment vehicle, right? But yet we have no degree programs for it. I would love to do that. I think our industry deserves that.
Yeah, there are some colleges that have real estate as
A major?
yeah, I think Temple University now. I think Drexel does as well.
You're kidding. I did not know that. I'll have to
Yeah,
look into that. Thanks for
yeah.
letting me know.
They're newer programs, but there's a
But
few.
listen, it's something. I mean, it's something. You have to
I don't
know.
know that they train Emily how to actually sell real estate.
You think they have like cold calling 101?
No, they do not have cold calling 101. And if they did, nobody would want to be in the industry if they found out.
Exactly.
That's why 5%, 10% do 90,
Do all the
95% of the
business.
business.
That's so true.
Right?
Right
So
on
somebody enters into a new brokerage or team. What advice would you give them? They've joined.
I
What would
think
you?
here's the thing. You have to sleep, drink, and eat it. That's it. Make real estate your 24/7 focus, and you're going to be fine. But the problem is all this advertisement about come to our real estate school, you should get a real estate license. They make it sound like, hey, just get the license and everything's going to fall into your lap. And I'm sure it's a flexible career. I mean, did you ever work in real estate part-time? Yeah.
I actually worked my first year at the radio station and in real estate dual career. So I would not say it was part-time because I was working like full-time hours.
Right.
And I think I had my license in March. I closed 17 sides that year.
With another job.
With another job.
But
people don't do the job.
You were sleeping, drinking, and eating it. I don't even.
That's correct.
Yeah. I mean, come on. You got to.
I still am.
You have to jump
20 almost 20 years in.
Yeah. I mean, it's too much to know and too much to learn in the very beginning to just do it a little bit every day. You have to literally do it 24/7. You have to plug in, take as much training as you can, shadow people, shadow other agents. They're out on their buyer tours, they're out on the listing appointments or typing up a contract. I mean, just you have to dive in and start doing it. And here's the best. The very first thing, if you come on my team, right, you're going to show up on day one, fear on a spreadsheet with their name, their mailing address, their email, and their phone number. That's the 4 points of contact information. If you're missing some of the 4 points, it's okay. But we want you to get everybody your wedding list. If you were having a wedding, like everybody on that list who would be invited if money was no object. You'd be shocked how many people show up on day one without that.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because we have the same thing.
Good. I'm glad you're not shocked by it. But like, it's crazy. It's like, well, and then they say, I don't want to call these people. Like, I don't want to ask them for the businesses. So then you are definitely in the wrong business. If you don't want to help the people that are closest to you, build wealth through real estate or help them find their dream home or sell the American dream. Like, what are we doing here? This is it. I mean,
yeah, I think part of that is lack of confidence. So until they have the confidence to call, Aunt Sarah or their cousin or whoever, I found that in the beginning too. I found that not that I didn't have the confidence, but that people didn't want to use me.
Right. Well, same thing. I felt the same way.
So I felt better just calling people I didn't know.
Right.
I didn't care. So they hang up on me. Okay, no problem. Next, right? Yeah. NO means next opportunity.
I love that.
Next opportunity. Okay, who's up next? Because we know that if we call enough people in the database, that we will succeed. Period. The end.
Yeah.
It is now. If you're more skilled and you know how to ask better questions and you can engage them more, then you'll have a higher rate of conversion to that opportunity into a sale, whether it's a buy, sell, invest, whatever.
Right.
But You definitely have to, it's a numbers game. And if you do the math and you work the math backwards, you can decide how much you want to earn in the real estate business by figuring out how many people you need to talk to on a daily basis.
Yep. That's it. It's
You know,
simple, but oddly enough, most agents overcomplicate it, right? It's so simple. It's actually easy. You just have to do it and get over your fear. Confidence comes over time, I think.
so I say it's get borrowed belief. So somebody else in
Mhm.
the organization had a sale, somebody else got a win from floor time, somebody else got a win from calling the database, somebody else got a win from calling expired listing. If they can do it, you can do it. Right.
Yep.
So taking a borrowed belief and being consistent and committed. If you do your commitments, so call time, 20 conversations. I say 21 because I say add one plus one. The
I love
21
that.
conversations, right, a day.
Yep.
And if you do that every day, you gain confidence, and you gain confidence, and you want to do more. And then you get appointments, and you want to do more, and you want more appointments. Then you get sales, and you want more.
They
So
want
the more
listings.
confidence you
Mhm.
build, the more it's an easier it is. And also, it's a very boring. Let's say boring isn't the right word. Monotonous. It could be very
Mhm.
monotonous, but you have to be maniacal about it in creating urgency today.
So true.
So I think creating urgency is key in this
Mhm.
marketplace,
Yeah.
getting people off the fence, whether that's buying or selling, depending if it's residential, commercial.
Mhm.
It could have a different effect in 2024, and they could make less or have to pay more, depending
Mhm.
on the situation.
Yes.
So
And also their motivation. I mean, you can't somebody wise told me once, "Emily, you can't more than them." And I'm like,
yes,
you can't want it more than them. And I'm like, you know what? That's 1,000% accurate. Like the person who needs to downsize because they're living paycheck to paycheck because they're not making enough money to pay more than the expense of the property. And nor do they need that bigger house. They need to downsize. But then every smaller house, they say, "Oh, but my house is so much better." Like, well, maybe you don't want it bad enough. Maybe living paycheck to paycheck is the right thing for you. The motivation along with that creating urgency, winning combo, I think.
and we can't want it more from them either for the people that are going to choose to do the work or not.
Yep, it's the truth.
So they need to want it as much as you want it for them. And most of the time, people just don't want it enough.
It's the
What
truth.
are you willing to do? I said, if your loved one is in the burning building, are you going to go in and get them? Like, what are you willing to do? If your life relied on getting a listing every day, could you do it? Could you actually do it?
Mhm.
If your life
Yeah, it's
relied on it, I guarantee you, if your life, or maybe not your life, maybe you don't care, but maybe it's a family member's life, dependent on you getting a
mhm.
listing every single day or doing
Yeah.
some type of business on the daily or on the weekly, every single week, week in and week out. Could you
Mhm.
do it?
Yeah.
The answer is yes, you could if you
Of course.
really wanted it bad enough.
And you could probably do it really quickly. Yeah.
So it's
I love
all
that.
depends upon what that individual is willing to do and the commitment and the consistency.
Yep. So
And
true.
I think those are really big things. I think that we're going to see a different environment over the next several years than we've seen.
Oh, yeah. We're already
Process.
seeing it. I mean, you see these, like, lawsuits and stuff, you're like, "What is going on right now?" It's madness.
Yes, yes. And since we're on podcasts and they're all active, I won't be responding to them.
Sounds good. I try to ignore it. I'm just ignoring all that stuff. I'm like, when it directly affects me, then I'll what's going on. Until then, it's just a distraction trying to keep me away from my 20 to 21 conversations.
21, 21 a day.
I love that.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. So you mentioned that you had a coach. Do you still coach or with somebody or?
I do. So I've had a woman named Nicole Zuber, got her in 2016. She was amazing, very impactful in my career. She moved on up the corporate ladder of her coaching company. And then I had a guy that it only focuses on finance. His name was Drew Lee. I worked with him for a little over a year, and he really helped me get my P&L like down to bare bones. He helped me get really profitable on my team. With the team, there's a lot of moving parts. Like you're
Very
running,
expensive.
yeah, like you're running a commission-based business, like through the way a normal business would operate. It's very, very challenging. He was amazing, Julie. He really helped me get profitable. And then he moved on to another company. And so our contract had been up. And then I got the coach that I had wanted, that you have to be a certain level agent in order to get him. And his name's Craig Zuber. He was the husband of my first coach, Nicole Zuber. He's like one of the best coaches across the country. And I just really hockey sticked with him. Was incredible. And I had been with him for the last few years, so it was time to move on. I needed a little bit different of a coaching plan. So I went with this new coach his name's Michael Burt. So I just started with him. I'm super excited. He's out of Nashville. Really excited to start working with
Which
him.
coaching company?
Michael Burt he has his own
Oh
coach.
yeah, I know who he is.
Yeah. Prior to him, the 3 coaches before were all with MAPS, which is Keller Williams Coaching Company. But Drew Lee is now with Forward Coaching, which is Places Coaching Company. He was very good. You can find him at Forward. But yeah, I mean, I have been blessed to have some really great coaches, and without them, I don't think I'd be where I am. I mean, if you think about it, I came back to real estate after my retirement per se in around 2012. So I'm about what's that now 11 years since I came back, and I've been with started coaching in 2016. So from 2016 to now, it's been great. I mean, before then it was a struggle. It really was a struggle to get consistent money coming in. People think real estate is very glamorous, like we make all this money, but some months we make really great money, and some months agents make no money. I mean, some months they make negative money because they still have expenses to pay. So
Absolutely.
getting that more consistent and on like an upward trajectory was always my goal. And when I started to coach, it went that way.
Yeah, they realize what goes into a real estate transaction and how many moving parts there are and how
Yeah.
much work it really is. Everybody just sees, they don't really understand how the financials of it work.
Yeah.
And, quite frankly, brokers make very little.
The brokerages are making like nothing anymore. It was always my dream to own a brokerage. Now I'm a partner in my brokerage, but now it's very, it's very little money to be made, and there's a lot of risk there in liability. We're just living in such a litigious world anymore. People are suing people for no reason. It's tough. Like I would say that Inman is talking about teamerages. That's the new style brokerage, and it kind of makes sense, because if the brokers aren't really making a lot of money because they're giving more commission to their agents and keeping less, like how can they afford to offer training and coaching and all of these things, like provide leads for the agents? Like how can they afford to pay for all that when they're giving the agents 80-20 splits, 90-10 splits, or hey, no, you keep 100% and just pay a $500 transaction fee? I mean, they're not making any money. If anything, it's a very broken model. So I'm curious to know, like that was another reason why I partnered with Place, is because I think they have a platform to support agents. And I think they do represent teamerages. And I think that the brokerage model is on its way, an downward trajectory. I mean, it's not where it's at. And listen, I'm a partner in a brokerage, and I'm that. So
Yeah, we're a teamerage.
yeah, teamerage is where it's at.
Yeah, and even that, it's hard.
Oh yeah,
Really hard, because there's such an enormous amount of expense. People don't realize it's very stressful industry.
oh yeah.
I hear people say, "Oh, I'll be running around the office like,
Yeah.
house is on fire."
Yep.
Like, we get paid when deals close. Like we could
Right.
take a listing and then they cancel, or the agent doesn't get the right price and cancel, or
Yeah,
you can't get access from the tenant, and you put all this money and time and energy and you never get paid. It's
exactly.
crazy.
It is
It's the
crazy.
only industry I know where you put up all of the expense
Mhm.
before anything.
Yeah.
I think if we got paid by the hour, we would make more money.
Oh, yeah. 1,000%. Be a lot more money. People don't
People don't realize, like, actually what goes into it. They think it's just like, oh, you find a buyer and then that's that.
Yeah, there was some crazy Facebook post that I just saw recently go around, and it's like all the things a listing agent does.
Yeah,
And it's like all
I
the things the
saw.
buyer's agent does. I mean, the thing was like from here to here on the
Yeah, the
feed.
guy from Boston, I think it's from Boston or up that way, he put it out. I can't
Yeah.
remember his name.
And now it's like
They have
spreading like wildfire. But I'm glad because people should know what we do. This is not an easy business, whatsoever. It's not easy. I mean, it's never easy to work with the public, but it's really not easy when you have so many moving parts, so many variables, market conditions that are affecting you no matter what you do. I mean, as much as you want to control it, and the best agents really do control their transactions, like some things you just can't control.
well,
Like
you
some
can't control the co-op or right? You can't
Right,
control the third parties.
right.
Right.
Exactly.
So I say we can make a smooth sailing transaction, but I guarantee you there will be a bump in the road
Right,
just because we can't control their humans. Know
right,
that we have the experience to get it to the finish line though, and
right.
know that when something bumpy happens that you're not going to get all your panties in a bunch and upset. I've told you already from the beginning that there was probably going to be a bump in the road here or there.
Yeah. Yep, no
It's
transaction.
important to communicate that message to the
That's a
consumers.
great yeah, that what you said, just I have the experience to get it to the finish line, like, period, end of story. That because 'cause you're right, there is always gonna be a bump in the road.
Absolutely.
But
Unfortunately, but that's just how it goes. We could be proactive about it and just let them know for sure.
Yep.
So, Emily, before we wrap up today, any books you're reading or podcasts
Mhm.
that you like?
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually reading right now Diana Kokoska's new book, Becoming More. I pre-ordered it. It came out like last week. I got it in the mail and I started reading it. I've never actually met her in person, but I feel like I know her because I followed her for so long. I just always thought she was such an amazing, dynamic woman. And I feel like her words were always so impactful, and I think it made a big difference in my business, and so I'm actually reading her book. But podcast-wise, I mean, I listen to a ton of podcasts, a ton. I always listen to the one thing that listened to for many years. I used to get up at like 5 a.m. and go to the gym, and I would listen to it on the car ride there, and then while I was at the gym, and I would try to get like 2 episodes in every morning during my gym thing. And of course, my gym, I'm no longer going to the gym. To let you know, when that stopped with COVID, I stopped doing all that. Yeah, I mean, I listen to podcasts in the car while I'm driving. I think if you can't afford coaching, like find a great podcast to listen to because you will learn a lot from them for sure. But the one thing podcast was probably that had the most impact on my life so far.
Awesome. I have listened to
Yeah.
that, but it's been a while. So thanks for the reminder on that. How can folks reach you at the Jersey Shore?
Oh my goodness. They can call me, 609-241-5141. Email me, Emily at marcheseteam.com. You could Google me, go on my website, marcheseteam.com. You'll find me if you want to find me.
Well, thank you so much for sharing time with us
Yeah.
today on Be the
Thank you for
Solution
having me.
podcast. It was great to have you on, Emily.
It's so
Um,
good to like finally get to know you and meet you, because I've always followed you. I mean, you've been the agent for many, many years, and I've always like really like always followed and checked you out. So
well,
thank you for
thank
having me.
you.
It's been a
Thank you for
pleasure.
thank you for the kind words.
Yeah.
And to wish you and your family a happy holidays, Thanksgiving.
Yes. Same to you. Same to you.